fired after Kizzy was already down.
We just got hit with a pretty big earthquake.
Threat to any deputy. Wagner says the deputies initially tried to stop Kizzy for riding his bike on the wrong side of the street. Claudia Pescuta, KNX 1070 News Radio.
Breaking news, we just had an earthquake. We felt it here in our studios here on Wilshire Boulevard in Mid-City, LA, and this caller did as well. Good evening, caller. You're live on the air. What did you feel?
Sharp 50 motion out here.
Hello, sir. Okay, let's go to this caller. And caller, good evening. You're live on KNX. Can you describe where you are and what did you feel? Hello. Okay. Caller, you're on KNX. Hello.
Hello there.
Hi. Can you please
What a
tell us
strong-
where you are and what you feel?
West Los Angeles near Olympic and Westwood Boulevards, and felt a very abrupt, strong shaker. About 8 seconds total.
Yeah, that's about what we felt here in the newsroom as well.
I got 4 transistor pocket radios here somebody hooked me up with, and I actually really enjoy working on these. They're small, but yet they can be challenging to diagnose and get working right. So we've got a Zenith Royal 50. These are kind of common. I think we've addressed these in one of these in the past. This has got the old style transistors in it. Zenith radios are fun to fix because usually it's not just something simple like a capacitor. The Zenith have a lot of transistor problems and all kinds of stuff. It looks like, unfortunately, this one's got wax in the IF cans. God, I hate when they do that. Okay, we've got a Sears solid state. Is Sears even still a thing? This is pretty big. I will almost... This is heavy. It's over a pound. Probably Japanese made. Sears was a company that was very instrumental in killing the American electronics industry. Emerson, I believe this might be hybrid, even though it says transistor pocket radio. It might have some of those little pico tubes in it because it has a slot here for a 45 volt battery. I think we should pop this open. Then we have a Zenith Royal 40, and the gentleman that gave me these kind of diagnosed it low gain, bad transistor, first IF. It's weird, this one, even though this is a 40, it has what looks like more modern Japanese IF cans in it and more modern transistors. So definitely, I think I'm a little bit more interested in the Royal 50. And I believe the last one we worked on like this had an open audio coupling transformer, so it was only feeding signal to one of the 2 outputs, so it was a little distorted. Let's open this. If I can. Do you have to stick something in these holes? Let me figure this out. Look at the chaotic nature of this thing. I believe this is like the Crosley we repaired or resurrected. This uses the audio output as germanium transistor that runs off of like 3 volts, and it uses these little, I want to call them pico tubes, but you can see the top of them there. I think they're called sub-miniature or miniature. I'm going to call them pico tubes. Let's see, there's some literature in here. Okay, it looks like it uses a 4 volt A battery, and that's right, I used a lithium ion in the other set, and a 45 volt B battery, and for that I used in the Crosley I used, I think, 4 of those little 12 volt I forget what the number is, the little they're a little stack of watch cells, and it's about that long, and they're about $2 a piece, something like that, and they're 40 milliamps at 12 volts. I forget the number, but they work great in these. Okay, here's looking inside the Sears. Of course, it's Japanese made, so sold only by, and this says 12, so this has 12 transistors. What the hell you need 12 transistors for? We know that 6, well, what is this? 6 GT, 1 2 3 4 5 6. So we got double the transistors in here, and I don't know, this was a big gimmick. Let's see, we got 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Oh, look, it's even got the tag on it there. I love how Sears did this. Chassis number, is that 132? Oh yeah, it's 132. Sears was smart to do this little tag soldered into the board. They really were. I bet this works. I wonder what this does. Oh, that comes down here to the external power supply, which you would never use. Looking at this, this is a little bit of a trip. First of all, I'm only counting 10 transistors. But the odd thing is this has 3 alignment points on, and it looks like it has, usually FM would have 4. It would have RF and oscillator, FM, RF and oscillator, AM. But this almost looks like maybe it has a separate dedicated RF stage. Wouldn't that be something? But where are the other 2 transistors? I'm getting ripped off here. Look at the size of the speaker. Let's put some batteries in this. Says the batteries are in the green, although they would leak before they ever went dead.
이거 100% 텍서블링.
Go por live.
Jugadores que han sido leyendas. Hoy en día lo recordamos con mucho cariño.
Muchísimas gracias.
Looking for LA Oldies 1260.
Tenemos el programa.
That's it. Oh, a tone control. What a touch.
I don't drive enough of them to be able to answer your question on interior changes. They seldom change these things.
Kind of good selectivity.
That's where the resale value is, and these.
There's no KNX running on top of Radio Disney.
$1 million nest egg.
My salvation, my fortress.
Anyone ever listen to the lyrics in this song and know what he's talking about? So much of this 70s rock and roll stuff, soft rock, mainstream stuff like this, no one ever listens to the words. Okay, this is cool, but call me a hardcore nationalist. I'm much more interested in the American-made stuff. I'm sorry. I mean, that's a keeper, and that will definitely be appreciated in the collection and probably tested in a rural environment, but for performance. But I am definitely, even though this thing is really chewed up, I am much more interested in seeing this work. So Zenith uses two AA 1.5 volt, and they're in series, and you can't just use, let's say, a 3.3 volt 14500 lithium iron phosphate cell. You have to have that center tap, because that's the reason why it doesn't need an audio output transformer, is because it uses that center tap. And we can look at that on the schematic. But yeah, you have to have this. So I wonder if this works. I mean, it is really chewed up, but it's what happens when you leave batteries in old stuff. So I need to figure out, it looks like, and both, the power switch switches both sides of the 1.5 volts. So let me have a look at this and we'll see where we're at. And like the previous one I worked on, the converter transistor is in a socket, which is interesting, but none of the other transistors. So I need to get the schematic and a good magnifying headset to work on this. So this is where really having the schematic comes into handy, because it is really not intuitive the way this hooks up, being PNP germanium and the positive going to ground, you can see here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and hook this up, this battery thing. Is this battery thing any good? Battery thing is not any good. Okay. Yeah, let me figure out what I'm going to do with this. Random insert. So I need to put a new plug on my soldering iron, and I dug this up, and I thought, you know, fused plug, this is kind of Elminco. Didn't they make capacitors? Something like that. Anyway, yeah, I thought it was interesting. It's got two AGC fuses in it, but it really doesn't help when the fuses are bigger than the circuit breaker. What are they, 30 amp fuses? And I see you can actually change the fuses with it together. You just push it out here and slide it in here. That's croaky sprinkler debibilizer. It's too bad they don't make anything like this anymore. You know, I guess the public, general public, just doesn't have the ability to deal with something like changing a fuse. That's above their mechanical abilities. Okay, we're rolling out with the professional's touch here. Now I think I did this right.
By 1981-82, we owned the college basketball world.
Cool.
We started.
Your license 1047.
No comment.
The first $7 million coach. People that have actually served. People are very critical of jurors and jury system. Thanking you for giving him the incredible life that God's
Precio regular.
of the Tesla, Apple. These places just did a split. You guys got the couple.
Vamos a ver.
Si que tiene.
I don't have the specs on this, but I don't think this radio is very powerful. It might do 50, 75 milliwatts on the audio through a little tiny speaker. And it doesn't help to have the speaker driving into a towel, but...
0.396 APR.
Trying to see if I can find LA Oldies. That's my test.
On radio, that's 85. Yeah. That's it.
Okay, there's Radio Disney Country.
Healthcare, you're going to be off for 14 days if you're quarantining. We're going to have testing. We're going to have masks. We're going to have hand sanitizers. And we were the ones that stood up and made the employers provide that. That's what unions do.
Excitement.
This is something that it's very...
Guys want, because we usually focus on... 하나님은 우리의 뚜껑을 열심히
There it is. What a fool believes. Nice. This thing is ready to go, man. No capacitors or nothing. Now, what I've started doing, and this pretty much applies to my situation only, because I really only listen to 1260 LA Oldies or KNX, is I usually peak my antenna trimmer on this station. And it was about on, so I think I'm pretty good. I got to keep talking to... Yeah, we're happy here. Now, unfortunately, the way this thing works is it's all completely eaten up and the battery thing is gone, but basically this connects to this and then this was to screw down, so we don't have any of that, so it's going to be like wrap tape around it.
그리스도의 말씀.
6 APR. I mean, Bounty. It's a quicker picker-upper.
For muscle pain. Blue Emu Maximum Arthritis. It works fast and you won't stink. Its unique formula with emu oil penetrates deep to relieve arthritis pain, sore muscles, joints, and more.
11:45, traffic every 10 minutes of the 5s, brought to you by First 5 California. Here's Sim Greenwood. A new crash on the 10 westbound into downtown.
100th year anniversary of KNX. Think about that. Went on the air in 1920. I got a little thing they posted. I'll stick it in here, a little JPEG.
Santa Clarita, 14 southbound at the 5, a crash in the carpool lane. Northbound, crash cleared, but it's slow from Roxford, actually all the way back down to the 4055 split. Very heavy southbound on the
Imagine being on the air for 100 years continuously, and I sure would like to hear the first time they went on the air, the broadcast from 1920. I bet that would be incredible if there was a recording of their very first hour.
Learning in 2 languages is a great thing.
Today is the 100-year anniversary of KNX, and it didn't start out as a news station. It turned to all news in '68, I guess, but it did do some news before that. So today they're doing a whole bunch of old bumpers and stuff that I remember hearing. They used to do Dragnet on Saturday night. That'd be neat if they did that, but I used to listen to KNX on a crystal set, a homemade crystal set, when I was in grade school. So it's kind of interesting to hear these old bumpers and stuff. I'm going to try and catch a bunch of them and put them in the video at the end. It's like a week later, and the Zenith has gone quiet. And today, instead of serious heat, we're under a cloud of smoke, and I haven't seen the sun for 3 days, which is okay, but kind of tired of the ash and breathing the smoke. I'm not a big fan of campfires, and kind of the non-stop saturation of it getting kind of old, but I don't know if you can see in the camera the kind of orange sun line right there, but that's, let's see if I can get a shadow going on here. That right there is pretty much what we call direct sunlight and cracks in the driveway. Anyway, I was doing some testing, and it doesn't appear that it's the converter, and here's why. Well, it's totally quiet except a pop and very little hiss. But let's see here. We'll turn the... So, I mean, I'm not putting them right next to each other because I think that's off. Sometimes I've seen it actually affect it just... Yes. So you can hear it affects it there just from the... But with them far enough apart... So the converter's running in this. So maybe this is the one he thought had a weak IF transistor in it. Let's see if we can isolate down what failed here. I like this radio. It's the American version of, well, this is AM FM. I mean, you can't beat a Panasonic. Panasonic RF511 is... I mean, that's this right here. You can't beat that as far as performance. But hey, this is a Zenith. Here's a different signal tracer. Let's see if this one works. One way should be through a detector diode. The other way should be straight. So we want to go through a detector diode to look at the IF.
Surface, I guess, but it's from Microsoft. It's Android. We talk about potentially what Apple might put on Tuesday. There's going to be an event, big event. All are invited to watch live.
Human beings perspire all the time, and 1 gram of butyric acid, which is sweat. 1 gram of butyric acid.
Oh, of course, now it starts working.
Listen to this number. I didn't make this up. 7 billion molecules of smell. This smell is genetically programmed in a person from birth. Listen to me carefully. All your blood relatives carry.
Well, the one I touched right there is the first audio. So maybe what I should do is put this... It seems to do it more cold. Maybe I should put it in the refrigerator for a couple hours. 5 minutes in the freezer, dead. Okay, here we go. I think I made a mistake. I believe that is the first IF. Did I say the first audio? It's not the first audio, it's the first IF. All I did was touched something here.
On Google, it's a bit by the... House as is, they so they do this every day.
Is it the IF transformer? It looks like it comes out of here and then it goes into the first IF.
Spreading positive vibes instead of COVID. Tune in at 10 till...
Okay, I put it on a stronger station.
En este momento, porque hay personas que quieran tenerlo a 15 años, Tony, a veces el pago le sube.
Yes, blibble. So is it the second IF?
Y con ese dinero, en cuanto se cae.
Where does this go? Hold on. So it looks like it's the second IF that's dead.
Miles de dólares a sus familiares rescatar.
like it's this transistor here, second IF. See if we make hot. That's a pretty good indication right there. Okay, let's see if we make cold. Yep. That's good confirmation. You know, that's what you want in a diagnosis. You want to be able to confirm your fault finding. What is it, 3 times to be scientific? Probably gonna take a while because it's. Yep, that one's bad. I think what I'm going to do is put this one on the bottom. This is a Russian GT322. I saw the comments about using this thing for germanium transistors, and yeah, I get that the leakage throws it off, but at least it's good enough to identify the leads. And on these transistors, one lead is a case ground for higher frequency stuff, so we don't need that. So this helps identify. Okay, I got the old one just floating there, and I got the Russian one right here. This is just an experiment. I got 2 leads disconnected on the original Zenith one. So we'll let it, maybe I'll freeze it again.
The great oldies are back on LA Oldies, K-Surf, AM 1260 and AM HD stereo, KSUR Beverly Hills. Also in HD stereo, KGO HD2 Los Angeles, and streaming worldwide at laoldies.com.
Working good. It didn't respond negatively to cold spray.
I'm Tim Greenwood from the Toyota Glendora 24-hour traffic center, KNX 1070 News Radio.
Motek Money continues. This is Frank Motek. With me now, Gabriel Carteris, the union president of SAG-AFTRA, Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of Television and Radio Artists. Gabriel Carteris, thank you very much for coming to the line and continuing the tradition here of our annual conversation.
Okay, here's the 40. Let's see if we could get this working. Look at this. It has a Hitachi detector diode.
SAG-AFTRA members especially affected. Tell us what's happening with the members here.
Yeah, I like my American flavored one. This does not have the socketed converter transistor. This has Japanese capacitors, 1963. You sold us out, Zenith. Should have stayed American, man.
So healthcare in this country has exploded. Our members...
We should have bought American and we would still have these companies. But anyway, I better shut my mouth. Somebody will say I'm being too political again. Okay, let's talk about this one for a second. So, he said here, low gain, bad transistor, question mark, first IF. We listen to this. See how the sensitivity is there? But it sounds like it's being choked. I mean, I bet this gets LA Oldies. So you listen to that, and then listen to this one.
During Court Furniture Outlet's annual Labor Day sale, get comfortable solutions for your home.
It sounds like it's being choked, but the sensitivity is there. So this to me sounds like a problem almost in the audio output. The speaker is frozen, one of the transistors are bad, or this transformer is open. This is not low gain, this is choked. This is really in pretty bad shape. This is not by any means a nice specimen, but we can still learn and have fun diagnosticating. Okay, it looks like this thing has been damp, so let's see if maybe the speaker is choked. I'm gonna bridge this speaker in. This is out of a TV I EOL'd. These are not high efficiency.
Back on the Pet Show on more next time. Here's the deal, John, Matt, David, Paul. We're going to break for the top of the hour in a minute or two. I don't want to rush anyone. John, you got a great question with dogs being aggressive.
Supreme Court, as a
Price index will be released. And on Friday, inflation at the consumer level, the consumer price index will be coming out. This is Motec on Money. Thank you for listening, and enjoy the rest of the holiday weekend. I'll be back at the same time next week.
Abrazan a la nota 434.
America's Motec on Money.
There it is. That's 1260. And you know, what do you expect when you feed 50 milliwatts into something like this? You know, so yeah, the speaker is frozen. Is that the camera?
Washington. People are celebrating this Labor Day weekend after a spring and summer of COVID-19 lockdowns. But there are worries that people will stop being careful. CBS's Michael George explains. Even yesterday, as the weekend was getting underway, there were signs on some beaches that social distancing might also take a holiday this Labor Day weekend. We're in a freedom society. We're in a society. Health officials are concerned.
You gotta just work it. It's like a frozen bearing, you know. You gotta put some oil in it and work it.
New U.S. cases reported 3 weeks after that weekend. The other worry this weekend
Crunchy.
is dangerously high temperatures in many places. CBS News meteorologist David Parkinson with the latest. The projected high temperatures today now going to set records in 60 different cities, and we're going to set more than 50 records tomorrow. So we are looking at widespread heat as far east as South Dakota. President Trump is vehemently denying a report in the Atlantic magazine that he called...
Yeah, they're saying it's supposed to be over 100 here. Well, I ain't feeling it. I'm out here working on these.
...to a French cemetery where American troops are buried. CBS News political analyst Leonard Steinhardt says this won't help the president's re-election.
Every effort to keep this front and center as the fall campaign moves toward election day.
It's rusty.
Democrat Joe Biden's running mate, Kamala Harris, is speaking out about President Trump's plan to fast-track a COVID-19 vaccine in time for the election. She tells CNN State of the Union she's not buying it.
I would not trust Donald Trump. And it would
Oh, like we can trust you?
that talks
Sorry, I can't help myself.
the efficacy and the reliability of what he's talking coronavirus approaches 188,000, and there are over 6.2 million cases in America. One model predicts deaths in the nation could top 410,000.
So the speaker was rusted into place. I wonder if I have another one of these. Rusty speaker. Would some oil fix it? Okay, bad 2-inch speaker, rusty. So here's what we have. We have some Russian, Soviet communist speakers. I don't know if these are in good shape, but these are these are 50 ohms. Holy crap. $50 ohms, huh? So we're not going to drive much into those at all. We'll have to see how they sound. Wonder how many ohms this one was. I'm assuming probably 8. And we have a modern Chineseoid, Taiwan, sorry, 0.3 watt clear plastic. So I can get these at my local guy for $4. Let's look at the schematic and see what it says that. I'm sure this is 8 ohm. You know, I could just measure it with an ohm meter. It says SP1. It doesn't give a resistance value. Well, it measures 12.5 ohms, so pick your cancer here. I mean, it's a personal radio, you know, it's not a public address system. Ooh, that's not bad. It looks awkward, but it ain't bad. It's rolling out on the efficiency tip.
Let's get these fleas taken care of both inside and outside, and you should be pretty much on target. By the way, you know, with the COVID, I'm wondering if there's a veterinary open that's not too expensive. I'm in the valley in Van Nuys. Yeah, I'm sure there are vets that you can find. If you go to, God, you know, everyone asks that question. I can't give you the prices. Every vets are different in prices, so you might have to call around and check or check with some other people. But also, there are a lot of organizations out there that can help you. And the fact that you rescued this cat, they may be there. So if you go to my website, Paul, thepetshow.com, you'll see a list of organizations out there that may be able to help you with that. In the meantime, what I'm going to do is
I put the Russian one in there for now. Yeah, it's not quite as loud, but you know, I don't know, what were these radios made for? You take them to the ball game, and you know, these were not Zenith's high-end flagship radios. Look at it. It once had silver, aluminum-y, whatever. It's just totally gone. Was this the thing you kind of take to the ball game and hold next to your ear? I don't know.
Commandment is the easiest. Mesa, 888-58-MESA, or visit MesaGarageTours.com.
This is Southern California's only 24-hour local news and traffic station, KNX 1070 News Radio. Good afternoon, I'm Nathan Roberts, and our top local story at 12:30. What else? It's the weather. Record-setting high temperatures forecast across Southern California for today and tomorrow. The Weather Channel's Jeff Eno with details.
The heat is in for the weekend. This will stretch into Labor Day. Temperatures running well above average into record-breaking territory. Beaches could see mid-90s, low 80s by Monday. Triple digits elsewhere. Valleys 105, 115, mid-90s by Tuesday.
All of my teaching.
County mountains and valleys, Inland Empire included, also the San Diego County mountains and inland valleys. Fire weather watch for the Santa Barbara County mountains today, Ventura, LA County mountains tomorrow. Jeff Eno, KNX 1070 News Radio.
And with Southern California being hit by this stifling heat wave through the holiday weekend, the state's power grid operator has declared flex alerts between 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. from today through Monday. What it means is you are asked to use as little energy as possible during those hours to reduce the risks of a demand overload.
Most people know that Mr. Clean Magic Eraser removes crayon and scuff marks from walls, but did you know it even cleans tough kitchen and bathroom homes? Maybe.
This is that bread that came down from heaven. Now that
Yeah. Nice.
palabras por segundo.
Capernaum.
Yeah, these must have just been made to compete with those little honkoidial typoid $5, $9, you know, 2IF stage radios that they made tons and tons of. So we're going to come back to this at a later date. This is like probably a whole video in itself. This transistor pocket radio that has tubes in it. So yeah, this is cool. So when I mention that these might have been made to compete with the honkoidial $9, $5 radios, these are the honkoidial radios. So here's a Viking and a Hong Kong, and you can look inside this and see. This has got silicon transistors in it, you know, and this is, I mean, if you look at the fit and finish of these, it's just, everything is just, yeah. Here's the Viscount, and I say Viscount because it makes the OCDers go nuts. Ooh, the Viscount is packed with transistors. Look at that. Looks like a rabbit took a dump in it. And these usually have 2 electrolytics in them, like this one. An AVC filter, and then just, I mean, they are really, really as minimal and cheap and as engineered down to nothing. Well, this one's only got 1 IF stage in it. This one's got 2. So the Viscount is packed with transistors. See if this one brags about how many. And these all use, well, look at this one, doesn't use any audio output transformers. This is all direct coupled. And that's what's got the extra electrolytic in it. Okay, here we have an Electro brand honkoid. Same thing. See what I mean? And they just used, when they built these, they just used whatever parts they could find. Whatever they could buy in bulk that was no longer being used, they put in these. And I think this probably performs better than this Viscount. Anyway, these are fun to collect and work on, and you know, oh, look at that one's 40 ohms. Ooh.
수위를 다소 좀 주춤하긴 했거든요. 근데 이번에 다이너마이트가 1위에 오르면서 결국 정말 오랜 목표를 달성을 했어요.
What am I? Gotta get my carpenters fired back up here. Oh yeah. So anyway, I guess I'm just listening to myself talk out here. Lesson here is, you know, always check the small things first. Check your your basic voltages from the batteries. Make sure your speaker's not rusted into place. You know, it's not always capacitors that fix these things. In fact, it's hardly ever capacitors that fix these things.
To KNX In Depth, along with Mike Simpson, I'm Charles Feldman.
Happy birthday, KNX.
100 years, still standing tall. Southern California's only all-news outlet. Signal that is one of the most powerful in the country. Turn us on at night and just keep on driving. Since the station switched to the current all-news format in 1969, we have covered stories big and small, local, national, international, that have impacted all of our lives.
KNX, covering the news in Southern California for 100 years, 1994.
Most lanes are empty with the exception of people that are trying to get a look at OJ. And there was a sneaking feeling we all had that perhaps he would return to his Brentwood home. And indeed, officers, they were just feet from him, and they were able to make contact with him, and they are pleading with him to get out, give himself up. This is the end of the road. There's nowhere to go from here. You need to know KNX 1070 News Radio.
The history of Southern California happened here.
This was the story not only of Los Angeles, but of its people.
Covering the news in Southern California for 100 years. This is KNX, KRTH FM HD2, Los Angeles, Southern California's only 24-hour local news and traffic station. KNX 1070 News Radio. Depend on us. All you need to know, KNX 1070 News Radio. KNX, covering Southern California for 100 years, 1960.
Now let's go back to the Kennedy headquarters.
Boyd, we have here our own Ray McMacken, who was right there. But Ray?
Boyd, I'm sorry, but I can't hold back the tears. He's shot right in the head, and he's not moving. There's several people back there shot. One right in the head. I just can't control him. He's not moving.
All you need to know, KNX 1070 News Radio.
KNX is 100 years old today. Joining the celebration?
Hi, it's Governor Gavin Newsom. Just wanted to congratulate KNX Radio for a century of excellence. Though much has changed over the last 100 years, this station has been a constant in the lives of generations of Angelenos. Today we celebrate your rich and storied history. In 1938, Orson Welles' War of the Worlds radio drama was broadcast from the old KNX studios at Columbia Square on Sunset Boulevard. And during the 30s and 40s and 50s, KNX was the radio home for Jack Benny, Bing Crosby, George Burns, and later on, Bob Crane of Hogan's Heroes. Today, Southern California depends on KNX as we go about our day-to-day lives, up-to-the-minute reporting on public safety, and politics, and arts, culture, the weather, and of course, LA's infamous traffic jams. I know for KNX, the best is yet to come. Thanks for everything you do for our state.
The history of Southern California happened here.
Speaking from his office in the City Hall, the Mayor of Los Angeles, Norris Folsom.
Covering the news in Southern California for 100 years. This is KNX, KRTH FM HD2, Los Angeles, Southern California's only 24-hour local news and traffic station. KNX 1070 News Radio. Depend on us. All you need to know, KNX 1070 News Radio.
It's 8 o'clock.
This is CBS News on the Hour.
Rather severely. Here's another aftershock coming in. It's very difficult to maintain the type of calm we are trying to maintain as the building continues to shake around us. We do this. All you need to know, KNX 1070 News Radio. Cutting dental.
The world is changing, gotta keep up to date. You need information, don't have time to wait. The source that you use to gather the news that gives a point of view with facts you can use. Minute by minute, up to date. The stories and headlines and how they relate. In the stories you hear, the facts should be clear. A reliable source for all your news reports. KNX News Radio is all you need to know. 'Cause all you need to know, KNX 1070 News Radio. All you need to know, KNX 1070 News Radio.
April 15th, 1968,
A little more than a week after the death of Martin Luther King Jr., KNX flipped the switch to all news.
He's on KNX, AM and FM, 1070, CBS News Radio, Los Angeles, through the high noon hour. You're just a phone call away. It's 11:30, Mike, and let me set aside just about a minute and a half here to keep our audience current on the news of the world and the West.
The timing of the switch to all news was fortuitous. KNX News format was made for the turbulent events of 1968. KNX went into breaking news mode following a shooting at the Ambassador Hotel where Robert F. Kennedy was addressing supporters after winning the California primary. KNX reporter Ray McMacken was nearby.
I'm sorry, but I can't hold back the tears. He's shot right in the head, and he's not moving. There's several people back there shot. One right in the... Excuse me. I just can't control it. He's not moving, his eyes are not open, and he's shot right in the head. And he's laying on his back. There's two other people wounded, just bystanders, and I can't understand it.
And KNX reporter John D. O'Connell was on the scene when Kennedy arrived at the hospital.
The news bad at this hour. I've just pulled up behind the ambulance at Central Receiving Hospital. Senator Kennedy has been brought in on the stretcher here at Central Receiving Hospital. About 16 police cruisers also on hand here. The streets are now being roped off. I do hope everyone in the audience that can hear my voice will not come over here. It will only harm rather than do any good.
Kennedy would have emergency surgery but would not survive. His press aide made that announcement.
Senator Robert Francis Kennedy died at 1:44 a.m. today, June 6, 1968.
The Kennedy assassination was just part of the story in 1968. Protests were held across the country throughout that year. The Vietnam War and military draft, the death of Martin Luther King Jr., and the growth of the civil rights movement.
No more war! No more war! No more war! No more war! No more war!
Many of the protesters were young people, and they had a soundtrack for their rebellion by artists who felt that they needed to have their voices heard, and listeners to KNX would be in the know all along the way. Artists like Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin gathered huge followings, capturing the spirit of the time. And James Brown recorded the song Say It Loud, I'm Black and Proud, using neighborhood kids to sing the chorus. As KNX reported on protests across the nation, one of the biggest took place at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. President Lyndon Johnson announced earlier in the year that he would not be seeking a second term, and after Kennedy's death, the race for the nomination was between Hubert Humphrey and Eugene McCarthy. There was chaos both inside the convention hall.
Don't push me, please. I know you will, but don't push me. Take your hands off of me unless you plan to arrest me.
And outside.
Political pigs, your days are numbered. We are the Second American Revolution. We are winning. Yippee!
Humphrey would go on to win the nomination but would lose to Republican Richard Nixon in November. Events listeners of KNX could follow by just tuning to 1070 on the AM dial. While 1968 was filled with tension across the U.S. and the rest of the world, there was a glimmer of hope at year's end with the launch of Apollo 8 in December.
The engines are armed. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. We have commit. We have liftoff. Liftoff at 7:51 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Space may be the final frontier, but for radio station KNX, there would be many more frontiers in news to come. Charles Feldman, KNX 1070, News Radio.
I present to you the ultimate Antifa companion radio, the Westinghouse Escort. The Escort features an analog clock, wind-up clock, that you have no idea how to read because your public school's focus was on teaching you how to hate the country, not how to do practical things like math or read an analog clock. It also features a cigarette lighter to start forest fires or light your joint. The built-in rechargeable AM radio will keep you up to date on the contested election and what part of the city you should be occupying and burning. The high-powered built-in flashlight can be used to blind those pesky patriots and police. The built-in pop-out charger for easy, convenient charging at your favorite coffee house or private property you're currently occupying. And the built-in wrist strap and solid, heavy construction coupled with the lock-in-place charging plugs makes this a perfect concealable weapon to be used against those officers that you have absolutely no use for because you own nothing and have no future. And never fear, this unit is made in Taiwan, none of that pesky American garbage. We wouldn't want to support the land we were brought up in or depend on. All right, now that that's over, I'm sure the hate comments are going to be flowing. Let's pop it open and look at it. This will be the topic of a future video. Wow, this is actually kind of cool. Replaceable AA nickel cadmium batteries, and it even looks like it uses a little power transformer. No wonder why it's so heavy and solidly built. And yeah, the cigarette thing, this is really excites me. So we'll have to do a video on this in the future. The battery contacts are a little bit eaten up. Look at how small that driver transformer is. Wow. Look at how small that is. Incredible. So anyway, here's the next lot of radios to fix. Of course, we have the Antifa Special. We have a Zenith here. A Sears, which is just your honkoidial whatever. A Channel Master, which is a Sanyo good radio. The Philco I'm most interested in, and this is some weird Japanese thing that claims it's made in America, so I don't know. So anyway, in the future.